All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Sunday. This is going to be part two. I hope it's just a two-parter of this painting that I started last Friday. And we're using Photoshop and a Wacom tablet. And I'm doing a full-body portrait of a sketchy person named Katie. And she's a photographer. I think she's based out of the UK. So I guess we'll just get right into this thing. I'm kind of glad I stepped away from it. When I did, I think we got to a point where we can kind of look at things a little bit more critically and adjust all the mistakes that are happening. So there are a few things I wanted to call out here. We got a lot of work to kind of do. I think proportionally she's probably okay, but I made some notes here. I think that the features in her face are a little small for her face, that we need to bring this area up a little bit, and we need to kind of turn the look, the axis. Let me get a pencil. Pencil. I don't know how to use my tools. Pencil. That's good. I'm a little shaky. I might need to warm up a little bit. Where's where? Yeah, right now she's kind of like here, and we need to get it a little bit more vertical. Anyway, so yeah, we need to reposition the axis of her face. I'm not really thrilled with the location of her hands and arms. I mean, if you just look at this image over here, you can see like I just need to bring this stuff down a little bit. We shouldn't be seeing this much sleeve, etc. And I'm like I said, in the last episode, I don't really want to be a slave to the reference, but I do want things to be positioned correctly and be proportionally correct so that that isn't a distraction. And let's see what else. Sort of the angle of the bottom of the dress I need to rework. Obviously, I need to get these legs working, period. And I think I want to move the head over a little bit to the right, because, let's see, where is she? Sort of got my plumb line here. So we've got this coming up to the eye I'm looking at, the right eye. If we kind of take that same thing here, she's moved over a little bit. So I think maybe if we reorient the axis of the face, we'll get a little bit closer to the right positioning and move the arms down and get some of this sort of fixed. And I wanted to lay in the values for the overall composition. I didn't want to leave this as just like me working on the figure and then going into the background. I want to make sure that it's kind of harmonious. So I need to just get in there and rough in the background as well. And I think in the last episode I mentioned that there was something weird about the perspective. Like I felt like her head might be a little big actually in the reference photo. And after looking at it again, I see that the door is kind of belling out. So that means that there is some distortion happening. I'm guessing this was taken based on the fact that she's taking it with a camera phone, looking at, I'm guessing, a mirror. So that means that the surface of this mirror, in addition to the camera phone, is giving us some distortion. So actually I went ahead and just did an adjustment in Photoshop to kind of bring things into a more realistic proportion, or at least what I think is probably more realistic. It's pretty subtle, but we're going to work from that for this thing. I'm going to take a quick test. Okay, everyone's hearing me. I just want to make sure the audio is coming out. And let's see, I'm using an iPod or iPhone headphones microphone so that we're not getting so much echo from the ambient sound of my room. Anyway, all right. Well, we know we have to fix a bunch of stuff a lot of it's kind of interior to the figure. So why don't we just go ahead and start roughing in everything that we were talking about with the background. I'm going to use a brush that has some texture in it, just because I think it'll look a little bit more interesting if we do that. So the first thing I want to do is, well, one of my goals, I think, when I originally started this was to get the dress to kind of like recede into the background so it almost becomes part of the background. I think that might look interesting and just be pretty graphical with the walls and stuff. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's just make sure we've got, yeah, I'm gonna copy all of this. I'm gonna paste it into a new layer, and we'll just start with that as a base so that we still have our original drawing kind of underneath, and we can do a toggle back and forth when we get closer to the end. So let's just go ahead and kind of start doing this. And much like I did with the figure, I'm just going to be roughing in basic values, and I'll keep going over it as we progress. Let's use a mask, actually. I don't use selection tools very much when I'm painting in Photoshop. I notice that I think a lot of concept artists tend to use a lot of masking, like using the lasso tool and stuff, and it's really great to get shapes really fast, and then they rough them in, and then they kind of paint over them. And I notice that I tend to not do that, and I might start, because I think that you can get some nice edges, but you don't always want hard edges everywhere, especially in places like hair. It can just be visually distracting. I think that, like, if you're doing traditional work, like painting specifically, you'll always hear, like, professors and people that are painters. One of the big lessons is, like, always watch your edges, pay attention to your edges. And it's sort of a really weird thing to say. It doesn't make a lot of sense until you start realizing that when you're making a piece, edging really matters. Edging being how hard is an edge, how much contrast does an edge have, and one of the other things is, like, when you're painting, you paint into colors. You don't just, like, put colors kind of right up against next to each other, because it just doesn't look right in the way we see things and stuff. There's always kind of like some amount of blurring or fusion of colors and stuff that happens. Like, you don't really always want really hard edges. So anyway, that's a thought. Let's bring a little bit more light stuff up here. I may or may not include that door. I don't know yet. I don't know. You know what I'm gonna do though? I am gonna do the baseboards. So how do we want to do that? Maybe something like this, and then we'll pop off a little bit more white. We'll get those legs back. Don't worry about those legs. You know, something a little bit like that. And then we want to do some sort of a ground, and I'm going to get this color harmony. I'll get it into some sort of a place or a position where are we at? We're in the kind of the greens. Maybe we'll just go with something a little bit like, a little bit warmer, a little bit lower in terms of value, and kind of rough in something like this. And I think I do want to, like, you know, maybe a little bit darker. I think I do want to sort of try to include like her shadow, her cast shadow that's happening. At least one of them. I don't know if I'll do both. The light, there's obviously two light sources here, so so we'll try to do, what's going on with my pen? We'll try to do one of those cast shadows just to give her a solid kind of ground plane to stand on. Let's get a little bit lighter. No, not that light. That's silly. This brush is a little slow because it's a dual brush. What is going on? So that means it's got like a texture in addition to the brush shape itself, and by doing that, my computer doesn't like it, basically. So we're getting somewhere with the background. Oh, too much. I'm already going to start kind of blocking in a little bit of this cast shadow. I'm going to keep it kind of rough. We're not going with a photorealistic representation of anything here. So let's talk about shadow color, I guess. So right now, I haven't really even picked like what kind of light I want to do. I did mention I was thinking about doing like a cooler light source and then having the shadows be kind of warmer. And that might actually work, especially if we keep kind of this dark teal color for the boots. It'll help tie the top head area into the bottom area. So if we have some cool lighting and stuff happening and kind of keep all this background neutral, we can probably make the shadows a little bit warmer in tone, and that'll help make everything kind of read as being pretty believable, I think. So we'll go ahead and start laying that kind of warmer tone in here. I gotta get these shapes working better. They're pretty rough right now. Yeah. Okay, we're going to ignore that other cast shadow. Slow brushes, very slow. This might be interesting. This might look interesting. You know, this kind of like very flat, graphic looking. Warm this up. Plane or whatever, yeah, background plane and stuff. It might end up being kind of an interesting design element for the composition. I don't really know, you know, exactly what I'm doing here. I do want these sessions to be a little bit more experimental, a chance for me to make mistakes in front of people and, you know, hopefully run across some interesting stuff once in a while. Don't want to take that too saturated. All right, how is this looking? Yeah. Oof. I gotta mess this area up a little bit. This is looking way too clean. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Get some more of this more solid light value here. Question from Gracie Nugs. Hey Mike, big fan of your work. If you use any art books for educational reference, which ones would you prefer? Personally, I've been taking ideas from Alla, Prima, Schmid, and Bridgman. That book is on my list of stuff, to tell you the truth. Which list? Yeah, these two books. Well, this is the companion book, which is supposed to be good. But Alla Prima 2, Everything I Know About Painting and More is highly recommended reading for those that are trying to basically learn how to oil paint. Alla Prima being everything kind of being done in a single pass or a single session. And so this book is on my list of things to learn. This is another book that's supposed to be really good. I don't have these books yet, but I after lots of reading blogs and things like that, there's a lot of books that are supposed to be fantastic, and this one's really nice. Problem Solving for Oil Painters, Recognizing What's Gone Wrong and How to Make It Right by Gregg Kreutz. I'll put links to this stuff in the description. This is actually supposed to be a really helpful book because there are just common mistakes people make. And this book goes through all those sorts of examples and gives practical approaches for how to correct things that are wrong. It's a little bit kind of like what I'm doing here, which is talking about what's wrong and then, going through and making it right as best we can. That's a lot of what goes into, I think, all art making is just the problem-solving aspect. And the more you do it, the more experience you have, the more you're able to, one, see what's wrong, and two, take the correct steps to be able to fix the stuff. So this book is supposed to be fantastic. And then for figure drawing, this is supposed to be a really great book. I don't have this, but it's the Artist's Complete Guide to Figure Drawing, A Contemporary Perspective on the Classical Tradition by Anthony Ryder. This is supposed to be a really fantastic book for, like, almost one of the definitive books for sort of figure drawing. I think that for me, if I use any books for educational reference, there was a really great book. Hang on a second. I'm going to go run to my bookshelf. Be right back. Okay, guys, sorry about that. I told you guys in the last episode that I was moving and venturing into color, and color is a really tough thing, and light is a really tough thing. And so there's this artist and instructor named James Gurney, and the book is called Color and Light, A Guide for the Realist Painter. I bought this book. I highly, highly recommend this book. This book is so good. And it just talks about all sorts of lighting conditions. It talks about what's happening at a very practical, like physical level with how light works and materials and, what can and will affect it. And it just gives you a really fantastic set of rules to use as reference to make educated decisions about, what's actually happening with light. Even you can be like super observant, but you might not see what's really, really happening. But it helps to know because then you can enhance that effect. And then it helps you also if you do sort of like made up stuff. Like we're doing a little bit of made up, color stuff here. And this book really helps talk about how to choose palettes, a fantastic technique called gamut masking. I might actually do it. Well, James actually does a really great demo on his own YouTube channel for gamut masking, but it's how I picked all the palettes for my last painting series, No Known Narratives. I used that technique exclusively for choosing color themes or color schemes. So this book is highly recommended by me and by other people as well. And I really enjoyed it. And it's not too thick, and it's got a wealth of information. But beyond that, I generally don't really use a lot of books for educational reference lately. There is one more book. I might link to it in the thing. I don't want to get too distracted by answering this question, but it's a great question, and I think that it's all like knowing those rules and kind of keeping the set of rules in your head is really great, but you have to internalize it at some point. There's just so much to like keep track of. The more I've been doing this lately, like taking up a serious interest in trying to make art, the more I realize just how much there is to know, how many like infinite amounts of rules there are for color and light and composition and all this stuff. And it's just like and you wonder like, how do you keep all that straight? It's just so much to know, but it's practice. Like eventually you internalize it, and with enough practice, you're not actively knowing this stuff. It just becomes part of your process, and you can recall that stuff intuitively, as opposed to having to like look at your list of rules of the checklist of things to keep track of, that kind of stuff. It can be pretty daunting, but I think that, and just so you guys know, kind of what I'm doing here is I'm trying to give myself more of a framework for deliberate practice, opportunities to say, much like what musicians and training and stuff like that do, or what you do when you're younger and you're in school, maybe you're in band or something like that. And that is, you go through deliberate practice where you're not just like doing the same, you're doing a thing over and over again, but you're doing a very specific thing to hone a very specific sort of skill, and or learn a very specific thing, so that you do internalize it. And right now, my deliberate practice isn't just, hey, let's sit down and see what happens. Like I oftentimes want to be trying a new technique or experimenting with color, subject, any number of things. And I think that if you do that, you'll find that you can go a lot further with any sort of self-education than if you just draw or do or paint the same things the same way all the time. Like you're not going to really go anywhere with that. What's happening with this? I got distracted. I'm sorry. All right, I'm not going to pay too much attention to that. All right, so what's on our list? We blocked in some ground here. Losing her dress a little bit in it, which is good. That's kind of what we wanted to do. What do we have on our list of mistakes to fix? We got to get that head working better. So, and again, I don't want to be a slave to reference. That's a big thing here. But I do know that I want to bring these arms down. I want to get her head kind of positioned better. Like I said, proportionally, I think things are working pretty well, and we'll fix those legs and get them shaped up to look like legs and not whatever the heck they're doing right now. Greasy Nug says, thanks. You're quite welcome. Again, I'll put the links into the description after the session. I might even leave myself a little note right here about all the stuff we just talked about. Sorry, my computer's going to be very slow right now while I wait for this text editor to load up. Do. What's going on? There we are. There's a project. There we go. 1. Notes for the session. Let's see. Document the books in my Amazon queue. Color and light. Also scanned painting drawing book in my Dropbox. That'll make sense at some point. All right, back to this stuff. Okay, so how do we pull this stuff down? We're going to do some pretty destructive things here. I also noticed last time I did this session, I didn't save once. And that was a dumb thing, so I'm going to save. I'm usually pretty good about saving, but I'm new to live streaming, and it turns out that live streaming plus painting plus drawing or whatever, talking, for me is very difficult to do all at once. Let's see, where will we, we'll take it right about here, I think. We're going to end up having a big gap, but I'm going to try to kind of squint my eyes here and see if this is a little bit more where I want her arms to be. Yeah, I think it's going to be somewhere around there. And then we'll just kind of paint into this and get it kind of fixed up again. So let's switch brushes, something without all that crazy texture, and just kind of, we're going to rough in what's happening, we're going to rough in back in all the stuff that we just kind of screwed up. Her phone's going to be pretty big. Look at that face. I might actually tell you guys the truth. I might just kind of redo the face entirely once I start getting this back into a position. Ugh, that chin. Once I get this back into a position that I like it in terms of placement and stuff. I'm not totally thrilled with the face placement and features, all that kind of stuff. So it might just be better to cut my losses and re-render. Yeah, I'm getting better personally at nothing is precious. Nothing is precious. I try to keep that in my head all the time. I don't want to ever get so stuck on how something looks that I, just won't dare touch it in case I ruin it. But the truth is, like somebody said this once, it's like take your favorite painting or drawing or whatever, burn it, which is kind of extreme. Don't burn a painting. I don't think you have to go that far, but the idea is like destroy it and then recreate it. If you can't recreate it, then like you got to keep practicing. Eventually, nothing is going to be so magically whatever accidental and perfect that it can't be recreated by you. So it's a good test, I think, to not hold anything too precious and just keep trying and don't be afraid to try something new. And I'm saying this not to you guys necessarily, but to me, because I am so scared sometimes to try new stuff that anyway. So yeah, make mistakes. Don't be afraid to fix things that you see are totally wrong. It's really important. And you'll probably wind up with something better that you like more, that doesn't have a glaringly obvious problem happening in it. How about we make this arm a little bigger instead? Yesterday, if you guys follow me on Twitter, I did a live stream. I'm just getting into this whole live streaming thing, so I don't know all my service options. I know there's like live stream, there's Ustream, there's Justin.tv, there's, if that's still a thing, there's Picarto, there's whatever. There's a whole bunch of options for streaming content to people. And I wanted to try out another one, Picarto, which is an art-specific streaming service. And I didn't want to broadcast it because I don't want to start confusing people. Be like, hey, check me out on YouTube. Hey, now check me out on Picarto. Hey, now check me out on Livestream. I just kind of want to start exploring what I feel is the best option. Anyway, so I did that yesterday, and I got to a point in the painting where I used the liquify tool on the entire image, and it was a pretty big image. Like I said, this computer is kind of crappy, so I ran it, and I was almost done with the thing. I was working on the mouth, and I hadn't saved in a little while, and Photoshop crashed. And Photoshop's gotten a little bit better in that it has like an autosave and recovery feature every X number of minutes that you specify, and that's great, but it doesn't always work, and this was one of the cases where it didn't work. And so I lost like 20 minutes worth of work, and I didn't get frustrated or anything. I just said, I got to do all that same stuff again. I have to make this thing that I thought looked pretty good. I have to do all that work one more time and do it as good if I can. And it went fine. Everything went fine. So I think that, don't make nothing's too precious. It can all just kind of go away, and that's going to be totally okay. Got to spread those fingers out. I'm going to warm up these shadows a little bit, I think. If we're talking about how my light is going to be cool, and that means that these shadow shapes should start getting a little bit warmer. Should probably at some point here find my brightest. I should have done this actually a lot earlier, but I got to find my brightest brights and my darkest darks, and kind of give myself a little area where that is the case, and then use that to figure out the rest of these values. Because if you don't do that, then you can start getting kind of values out of whack in not good ways. So maybe I should just do that. I mean, I pretty much know that this is going to be the darkest dark, so, or maybe these will be, or we'll kind of keep them in the same area. And then the lightest light, I'm going to probably want to make like this area here. So yeah, we'll do that. So we'll probably take the background down a little bit too. So I don't want to go to full white. I want to kind of stay around here. So we'll get some of this down. She's going to look like she's made of, with this brush texture, she's going to look like she's made of like plaster or something, which might be fine. What is going on? Maybe we'll use a different brush. Okay, those are bright. This is bright here. This is going to be bright here. Just going to keep working through very big values. Not try to get too detailed here. Bright, bright, bright. Bright. We'll probably raise our flesh tones up in value a little bit at some point, like when we completely destroy her face. I think that those shoulders are a little too big. These values are way too dark right now, so I'm going to lighten them up a little bit. What color should we make the phone? I feel like I don't want to do gold. Or we do, but maybe we'll just, I don't know, bring down the brightness a little bit. I think I might end up keeping a lot of this painting kind of loose. I kind of like what's happening just in terms of like the overall silhouette and the rhythm of the piece. I mean, we'll get the values of like the arms and stuff a little bit better in line so that they read a little bit better, but I kind of like how sort of angular and blocky everything is. See a knee go lightly? Knee? I don't know. Be back later, he says. She says, he says. I don't know. Thanks for stopping by regardless. Appreciate it. We're going to have to bring the flesh tones kind of more in line with each other. Like the legs need to start matching a little bit more with like the warmth of what's happening up here. Hey Gabe, nice to see you on here. It's awesome that you came by. Thanks for coming by. Glad you like it. These are fun shapes in here. The way that our boots kind of like kind of sort of fold in on themselves in interesting places. See if we can do something with that. There's one thing I don't quite like about digital right now for me. I mean, I think some of this is just like finding the right brushes and making your own and stuff, but I kind of want more of something that's like a hard edge chisel that I can just really cut into something and have it. I don't know how to describe what I'm talking about. Really, it's just something that I can get with like a hard eraser and charcoal in traditional media, and I feel like it's a little clunky trying to do that successfully here. Anyway, but got a question from the audience. Greasy Nugs asked, earlier you were talking about color palettes and using color gamuts. What things do you look for when deciding on a palette? I actually have no idea now. That's a lot of times I'll look to like I prefer like complementary color schemes generally speaking, and we're already kind of like in that range. Like if you look at this, we've got blues, and then if you look at this, we've got sort of oranges. So like we're already, I tend to like lean toward complementary color schemes, but there are definitely colors that I'm just into right now. Like I really love these like muted teals. I really love this like really warm pink, like magenta. Maybe a little less that, a little bit more red, a little bit warmer. No, not even that. I can't really find it. Anyway, I like those colors. I like super saturated colors. And if you saw like No Known Narratives, like these are pretty high chroma color schemes. Like this is, well, these are all gamut masks, so they're non-traditional sort of color schemes, I would say, but they have color harmonies that work. But you can see I use pretty high chroma stuff, and I realized I love that, but I like it more. I like seeing that kind of stuff more as an accent rather than a dominant sort of like feature, I guess, of a piece. So that's where I feel like I kind of failed in that series. Was I didn't use the color to accent areas. Rather, I just was picking color schemes and kind of running with it and just using the colors wherever they mapped. I don't know if that answers the question or not, but I did realize recently that I was looking at my walls. I have a lot of my work up on my walls right now, and I do that for a couple of reasons. But one of the reasons is because I don't have enough other artwork to put on my walls. So I've got a lot of my work on my walls, and I realized I don't really want a bunch of colorful stuff on my walls. If I had it my way, I would just like, it would be super stark, like black and white, high contrast, big dynamic shapes. Like that's actually the kind of stuff I prefer looking at. I would have really sort of moody, brooding, almost grotesque kind of artwork, sort of like to surround myself with. And I don't have that, and I also don't make that kind of work. And I'm starting to realize that there's a huge disconnect in my aesthetic preferences, my taste, and the stuff I prefer to surround myself with versus the stuff that I'm making. And I think I want to kind of start resolving some of that. I want to start bringing one more in line with the other. So in other words, I want to start going to more muted color palettes. I want to start focusing on big dynamic kind of blocky shapes, and I want to start focusing on using light to convey mood as opposed to just whatever, drawing, painting, whatever it is I see. Which finger is this that I'm doing here? This is terrible. Let's get rid of these fingers. So we said we were going to move the hands. We did that, or at least move the finger, or sorry, move the positioning of the arms. We still got to kind of get this action. Like, how do we do this? How do we do this? Stephen asks in the comment, these were all digital. I'm guessing he's referring to the No Known Narrative stuff. These are paintings. These are oil paintings, 20 inches by 20 inches. It was my first try at doing serious like oil paintings. I'd done like smaller studies here and there, but these were real paintings that I produced for a show that I had at a bar that I'm a co-owner of here in Portland, and it was very scary. I produced like 8 paintings in 10 days or something like that, 11 days. It's physically exhausting. Painting is not an easy thing at all. And I haven't had like really successful paintings. I think those paintings are good, a good first for me, like I would say they're a good first go. Um, I have a lot to learn still, and both in terms of handling a medium and in terms of like sophisticated, yeah, color, and I don't know. There's just so much to learn. Um, but I haven't produced anything really solid since then. I haven't. I think it's partially because I haven't had any really good ideas of what to work on, and I tend to work on things not as a single image. I tend to work on things. Uh, I frame my thinking in terms of series. How can I create an image, but then kind of create a rule set around that image and uh, repeat a basic rule set, but across different subject matter or different themes or whatever. So if anybody's sort of followed me both in digital and traditional media, you tend to know that I just go through like not lots of experimentation, but a lot of different iterations on the same visual theme or whatever. And I generally don't do like just one-off images. And if I do, it's because I get bored with the idea of the subject. How's this? I think last time I talked about how difficult hands were and how I just generally I try to like block in the general like lights, dark areas and stuff, not get too detailed because and our eyes are so awesome, our brains. We generally fill in whatever's missing. We need to like, I said this last time, what's the bare minimum amount of information I need to put in this thing to convey whatever it is, I'm hoping for you to see in terms of subject matter, and like, is this a hand? That's not a hand, but as we start backing out, it starts to read a little bit better as a hand. So yeah, I don't want to go too far with that. I do want to get these looking pretty okay though, I think. And then we'll go back to her face. I don't know how finished we're going to get with this today, but I think we'll get pretty close. Probably something enough that's just like, yeah, that's an decent image. It's not total crap, so we can stop. That would probably be the case for today. And I mean, if you guys can stick around, it's awesome. If not, don't feel bad. I just appreciate you coming and saying hi, even if it's just for a few minutes. But yeah, I might. This might go longer than a couple hours, depending upon how in the zone I get with it. She looks so sad about her phone. She's like, is there anybody in there? What's going on with these fingers? What's going on over here? What is that? So let's clump this stuff together. Let's do this. Okay, we're gonna I think I see this form here. You can see I'm kind of just like blocking in the silhouette a little bit. Okay, so we got two fingers, a knuckle, finger. And we're going to have another finger kind of coming up here. And then we'll take this, raise it up. We'll get a highlight on this. Oh, she's got a watch on. I tend to not notice those sorts of details for some reason. I mean, in real life I do, but when I'm painting, it's like I see everything without logos, without any sort of formal, like she's got a ring on. She's got many rings on. Look at that. Like I'm just like, hey, those are fingers there. Those are whatever. So we'll see. I don't know how detailed we'll get with this stuff, but just trying to get some shadows in there. It's pretty long fingers. We need to connect this area up a little bit more. Get that sort of top plane. These don't need to be perfect, but we'd like to get them believable. Not too happy with that. I'm getting to that point where I wanted to try to consciously like not use the reference photo too much, to be like too prescriptive in what we're doing. A big part of what we're trying to do here is create an image that reads, on its own. Like no one's gonna, unless you're in Sketchy and you see the image side by side with its reference image, you're not gonna really know what something is supposed to look like. So it's going to be really important that I get this to a place where, while I know stuff is not the way it is in the photo, that what I do have going on looks appropriate for the scene that I've created here. There's always this like turning point where that just becomes very much the case. For any image. And I think we just hit that point in this image where it's more important that I just get everything kind of feeling okay. Like that hand's still really wonky. I need to really kind of work on that. It's I don't like those flesh tones either. This is getting laughable. I might need to take a step away from the computer here in a second and just kind of get my eyes used to not seeing this stuff so that I can come back and look at it fresh again. It's almost been an hour. Yeah, we'll get those hands working eventually here. Should probably put a watch on her though. Let's put a watch. I'm not gonna worry too much. Just got to get most of the perspective, believable enough so that it reads as watch. Pretty thick band. very flat band. Need to get some more shadow in there. Let's warm that up. Start here. It's kind of reflective, so we'll get like a underside highlight, and then we'll do another edge highlight. Just a little bit brighter. Get this little thing. This is kind of a gold watch, I think. Get another highlight over here, sort of. And do a nice swipe. How's that? Is that better? Ugh. Maybe. I don't know. Not really. Not better. But we'll figure out if we want to keep this, because you know, she's got a phone. She'll know how to tell time. She doesn't necessarily need to have a watch. She can exist in this fictional world without a watch and still be able to tell time. Need to get this to sit off of her arm a little bit, so I need her to get a cast shadow. Too dark, too dark. I'm gonna get some of this reflected light happening. We're gonna have to mess this up. This is like now becoming actually, a lot of it is because of the watch too. This is becoming a point of like visual focus because there's a lot of contrast happening here between the arm, the sleeve, and there's a lot of sort of detail happening here, especially in contrast to the rest of the image right now, where there isn't so much detail. So we're gonna do this and just imagine a world where watches never existed. I don't want people to be paying attention to that area of the drawing anyway. It's probably going to get some sort of highlight. There's a bone here. around. We'll probably get some highlight here. Yeah, we need to massage that a lot. Yeah, these flesh tones are really, really not working well. They're just like cardboard. So we're going to have to do something about that in a little bit here. And we'll fix that hand again, but at least in terms of placement and stuff, it's getting a little bit better. I might go ahead and kind of do some destructive stuff here, or how do I want to say this? I'm going to need to get in here and do some stuff to kind of like reduce the hardness of these edges so that they're not so they're not attracting your attention so much. Core shadows. Let's see. Something here. Well, that's now really, really, really terrible. Let's give her some more sleeve, because apparently I totally missed that. I'm going to try to keep these shapes pretty loose, I think. I actually do really like rendering cloth, but at this scale it'll get kind of hard, and if I get too fussy over it, which I'm already doing, it'll draw too much attention. So we just kind of want to, like, squint your eyes, make sure that we get some highlights wherever we need them, and get some shadows in similar ways. I'll figure out how to make that work a little bit better. I say that a lot now, don't I? It's like, oh, that thing, I'll just gloss over that for a while and come back to it eventually, and at some point it'll get fixed. Sometimes I find that I do that where I'm just like, if something's not working, and it's plainly not working, before I just end up losing countless minutes on trying to fix a thing, I'll just go to a different part of the image. Just say, screw it, I'll leave that thing. I know it's wrong. We'll fix it. We'll fix it in post. No, we'll fix it, on the next pass as I go fix some other stuff that needs to be reworked or whatever. I try to not get too bogged down in a very singular kind of tasks, especially if it is really frustrating or I'm having difficulty with it. Usually there's at least one or two other things I can go be noodling with that's wrong in the image. Okay, we need to work these cast shadows a little bit better so that this starts to look the way it needs to. Wow, I just keep zooming and zooming and zooming. Let's not zoom anymore. Now we gotta zoom again. Simone in chat said that that watch was pretty sweet. All right, well, it doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. But thanks. What is going on here? Bring it up. Shadows. 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 Just warming up the shadows. Yeah, what's going on with this arm? Same problems? Lots of problems? I don't know. Some problems. How much of this do I actually want to sort of convey? Don't want to get too saturated here. Like, I like this shape. I like that under shadow shape. Like, I like the cast shadow here, and then this big shape. And then we need to take up the value because we're actually getting a lot of reflected light back up off from the dress, the base of the dress. Sweater dress? I don't know what kind of, I don't know the names of things. Is that a thing, a sweater dress? Is that what this is? This is really dark. It's sort of interesting how incredibly light these shadows are. That face is bugging me. It's probably going to be time soon here to go tackle that problem. Yeah, this definitely is not going to be one of my better things that I've produced, but there'll be plenty of other things to produce. It's pretty mechanical. Okay, so we've got hands and arms to fix. I like the texture that's happening on the dress here. What else do we want to fix? Face? Maybe we can just do the face next. And then we can shape out the legs and then see what we need to kind of adjust in this general area. Don't like the puffiness of that sleeve. Oh, Stephen White in the chat. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good painting session yourself. I really appreciate the views. I'm going to probably step away myself here in a second and take a little 5-minute break or something. I'm not as talkative as I was last time. Probably because I'm not as nervous as I was last time, but also I'm a little sleepy. I was out last night and had some adult beverages, and had an adult hangover this morning. So I'm not totally, my game isn't totally on point today. I will be the first to admit that. Kind of want to eat a pizza, to be totally honest. I think that would make me very happy. This arm starts looking a little weird because we took out the highlight up here. Looks like it's just collapsing in on itself. I'm trying to still stay pretty chunky with all of my brush strokes and stuff. Actually, kind of, like I said, I think I like how that's, you know, I just like the angular. I like the roughness of it all, and I just don't want to put too much information into this stuff. So it's kind of nice when it's still pretty rough. I'm just kind of squinting my eyes and getting a sense of like relative values. Like, am I totally off in some areas? Am I not? I don't know what I'm doing over here. I was just trying to get a line on the panel, and then I ended up putting a bunch of crap all over the place, and now I just don't know what's happening. This is a little too, I don't know, molded in a funny way. It's like there's not enough highlight on the front of her hand, and there's not enough shadow in the area that matters most. And then there's too much crap happening in here. That'll push her hand forward a little bit more. Still looks pretty mechanical. I need to just like get some like cooler, lighter tones. That's right, we gotta fix that hand too, don't we? Okay, the face, save. I gotta take a quick break, give myself a chance to kind of look at this, figure out how we can fix it, how we can make it more interesting. Um, I don't know how much I'll carve out the leg, but I kind of like, I don't know, I'm starting to like some of the stuff that's happening in here. I do want to kind of get some of this happening. Just even this out a little bit. Maybe, oops, maybe I'll bring this wall, add some more interest to that wall. Just to give it a little vignette. I'm just kind of moving around the painting here now just to, I don't know, see where I feel like it could use this or that. There's no real rule for any of this stuff. Just trying to find something that feels good. Yeah, we'll definitely want to fix all this crap up. But, all right, I'm going to take a break really quick. I should be back in about 5 minutes. So thanks for hanging in there. If you hop off, that's totally fine too. This will be archived, so you can always come back and watch it later if you need to, but I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, I'm back. That gave me a chance to kind of look at this from afar. Actually, I would say I like a lot of stuff that's happening here. I do want to fix this face, so we'll go ahead and get in here and do that. Before we do that, I'm going to try something. I'm going to try to bring some of that cooler highlight stuff into this. I have a couple of different methods. I'm not like, oops, not that. That looks good. I have a couple of different methods for doing this. One is I like to take a gradient map, which gives you, it's basically takes colors and maps them to values across your image. And so what I'll probably do here is try to like, because the lights are generally going to, like the highlights, the lighter values in the image are generally going to be, are generally going to be the areas where light's hitting. And the darker areas are generally going to be where shadow is. The exception of that is going to be obviously some of the front of the boot, top of the hair, that kind of stuff, but we can fix that. Excuse me. So I said I wanted kind of a warmer shadow and a cooler highlight. So this is not what we want here, but what I'll do is I'll take this and usually try something like an overlay or soft light is sometimes pretty nice to put these colors into the scene in a way that isn't super duper obtrusive. You can see that in doing this, we kind of neutralized the blues and greens that we had in the hair and stuff. It pops the contrast a little bit though too, which I kind of like. So I'll usually just kind of noodle with this stuff, adjust the opacity. That's really just, yeah, it's multiplying, it's going to darken it. The lighter colors aren't going to do anything here. Nope. So I might go with something kind of like this. Oh, I kind of like that actually. Reduce the opacity of it and then that adjustment layer maybe into something like this. I mean, it's not that I dislike this color scheme. I'll probably bring some of that back, but this kind of starts to unify things a little bit, and then I'll take something and take the saturation down a little bit because it's pretty high chroma. Yeah, maybe something like that. And then we'll copy all that, paste it. Turn all these layers off. Save. Okay. I do want to get some of that. I like that blue from the boot area. Not that. Remember the start and this? Okay. Like I like some of this color. Okay. So what we need to do here is get in here and, oops, not go full screen. Sorry. We need to kind of turn her face a little bit. Her nose is too upward, is that what I'm looking for? And we want to bring her her mouth up a little bit. So I'm probably just going to just kind of squint my eyes and just kind of redo the value assignments here so that I just get a really fresh sense of the really, really general planes of the face and their respective highlights and things. Like, I don't want this to be that color. I want it to be starting to get toward a more cooler color. Like, this is all going to be a little bit brighter. Let's see. This is too hot. I do want to keep it warm. And I'm going to just kind of move around this whole thing a lot here and massage everything until it starts to read a little bit more correctly as the right general relative values across the entire form of the head. Let's see. So we're going to start turning your nose by just carving into it. Need some highlights. So one thing that's really off here is her cheekbone is really pretty far out from her head there in my drawing, not in real life. So I need to pull that back in. One thing I always have a sort of a problem with is, like, if you look at her face, cheekbones tend to kind of like actually start up above the eye, like they're starting up here and they come out. So when you look at a silhouette of somebody, you end up, let's do this, like their silhouette as an exaggerated way of seeing it is like brow bone, cheekbone, and then like eye. But the point being that the cheekbone is generally up above the eye. So sometimes I kind of start it like too low, the cheekbone, and I think a lot of people generally tend to do that. So I'm going to try not to do that here. That's why I'm bringing it up. I try to keep that in mind whenever I'm trying to place a feature. Like, her cheekbone angles in pretty quickly below the eye, and I want to make sure I capture that. This is one of those places where you don't want to have too hard an edge because, number one, you've got a hairline and you don't want your edges to be super hard there because it makes people look like they're wearing wigs. And then number two, since this is wrong, but since this is the part of the head that's kind of furthest away from you, you want to reduce the edge contrast so that it actually feels like it's turning away from you. Because as things come closer to you, the optical illusion that you can enforce is that they get sharper and more in focus, and as things go away from you, the details are less discernible. So the secret is to just let edges fall away that are further away from the viewer, and stuff that's closer to you, let that stuff be a little sharper. So you feel like I already did it again. There we go. That's a little better. Okay. Let's get her brow to continue over to the rest of her head. Nope. Okay. Oh. All right, here's where things can get kind of tricky. This is going to take a little bit of massaging here. I might just block a bunch of stuff in and then kind of take it all back out slowly. Because I'm reorienting the nose position a little bit here, and I want to make sure that it doesn't look like it's got a really sharp edge on the bottom, but I want to make sure that it communicates the amount of roundness that it needs. So let's see, we've got like dark shadow shape in the cheek area opposite the nose. That'll give us as much of an edge as we need. This is going to be messy for a little while. I usually have to feel my way through. If I'm not drawing on paper and I'm just more or less painting with value like I am now, I usually have to feel my way through a form by trying out, what I think is approximately going to be right, and then it turns out to not be right, and then I can see why, and then I'll make subtle corrections. So, the resolution of that image isn't very high either. So I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying that I have to make some guesses about how the form, what's happening with the form. Here's her upper sort of lip area. Zoom, 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 zoom. Hmm. I don't like that shadow color at all. Yeah, this is a super exciting stream, huh? Just usually when I get to the end of a drawing or start getting closer to the final thing, I end up getting really lost in all the little bits. Um, so I don't talk. But in the beginning, you can kind of just be roughing stuff in, and it's a lot easier to explain what's happening, I think. Pause. All right, back to it. I'm going to look at this upside down really quick. I just need to see if her nose is too low. I feel like it's too low. Right? Feels low. Feels pretty low to me. So yeah, I mean, should be something I can work with. What's going on over here? What's wrong over here? We need to get this jaw so that it kind of continues. Pull this cheekbone. Or cast shadow, I suppose. She's got a tiny chin. This angle is off. Like, what's going on over here? Let's see. Inside of the iris, or sorry, inside of the eye, down about the outside of the nose. I mean, I can bring this up a little bit. Something like this. And then, what are we looking at? Okay, and then, yeah, so somewhere around here, yeah, we just need to bring it over. Angle is more like this. Her eye is way too close. Hmm. Is that about right? Yeah, maybe. Hotkeys, why aren't you working? What do I have selected? Anything? No. Nothing selected? Yes, everything's selected. That's what's going on. Okay. Yeah, so... All right, whatever, that's fine. Figure it out. I might not get too picky on the details in the face, and I might do some sort of broader stroke stuff. And what I mean by that is just like be a little bit looser, I guess, not get it to such a polished state. Because this is pretty small and the reference photo is pretty low res. And I don't want to get too caught up in trying to make this look perfect. we're already about to hit that 2 hour part. So I'm probably just going to keep going until I get this in a satisfactory state. I think I said earlier in the stream that I wasn't entirely convinced that I was going to be able to bring this into a state of quality that was pleasing to me, that I was probably going to get some good things happening here and there, but for the most part, like, it was just going to be an okay sort of drawing or painting or whatever you want to call it. So it's probably going to be the case. It's probably going to get someplace decent-ish, but not be like something I'm going to be super proud of. And that's totally fine. I'm just, right now, I'm trying to get better at, a lot better at going in and seeing where I've made mistakes and then correcting those mistakes as best as I can, for the time, or as much time as I want to put into it. Because the more I do that, the better I get at that, the more likely I'll not make those mistakes later, or if I do make the mistakes, I'll be able to correct them really quickly. Too much nose outlining right now. Make sense? Nose outlining. It's when you outline the nose. That's what's happening. I need to not do that much of it. Like here. Yeah, I really have no idea what her nose shape is. I think she's got a nose piercing. So I can kind of put that in there. This is why working from life is preferred, because we see things in 3 dimensions. And when you work from a photo reference, you're getting a 2-dimensional camera's view of whatever the subject is. And that's often, it's hard to work from that. You can't really get a true sense of like what the shape of something is. And thus most pieces that, not most, I would say that pieces that work from a photo reference or come from a photo reference or use a photo reference as their primary source of whatever, those things, that work tends to be pretty flat. Like there's some life that just comes from working from life, and it's because I think you can see the real dimensionality of your subject. Is this right? Is her mouth in the right place? I'm just going to go find those darkest shadows first, and then we'll do a zoom out and see what's working, what's not. Nope. She's going to have a little bit more of a gap in her lips. I'm not really satisfied with these skin tones. Not that I really wanted them to look like skin tones, but I did want to vary the colors a little bit more, so that we got some like greens and blues and all the stuff that really makes for a good skin tone. It's all just kind of the same color right now, the same hue. Okay, so forehead's pretty bright. I guess we'd go ahead and try to bring in some of those colors that I was talking about. So we're going to have a pretty interesting, not too saturated here. Try to bring in some of these greens. And then start leaning back over. Let me capture some of these shadows. Start leaning back warm. Green, green. Greasy Nugs, got a question. Mike, I've noticed in many of your paintings, especially your portraits, that you focus on planes and geometric shapes. Are you going to reinstate those planes, geometric shapes here? I think that this is getting pretty. Uh, this is what happens. Thanks, by the way, Greasy Nugs, because now I realize I've just gotten way too deep into here. So yeah, I'm actually going to go back and reinstate those planes in this case because I'm getting way too detailed and want to simplify. I want to get back. I want to get down into like this area down here in terms of simplicity and value, and not have it be super crazy like this. Cody Ann, question. Hi, Mike. Thanks for doing this live stream. What brush preset tools are you using, and why did you choose them? So I talked about this a little bit last time in my last live stream. If you, I'm just using some things a great artist on DeviantArt, put up on their page, which is a good starter set brush tool. I talked a little bit about last time about how brushes aren't super duper important. I feel like you should, learn the basics first in terms of getting values and stuff like that, and just overall form and whatever. Like that's way more important than having like a crazy huge assortment of brushes. I've only used 2 brushes this whole time. These 2. One's got texture, the other one doesn't. And it's also like prevents me from having to like think a lot about what brush do I use next and what's going to be best for this or whatever. Just reducing my options. Anyway, I linked to it in the description of the last live stream. So if you go back into my uploads on my YouTube channel, you'll see the brushes linked there. If you want to download them, they are free. So I recommend you check that out. Check that out, Cody. I've tried a few other like brush sets and stuff, but I haven't been super. There's nothing in there that I've been like, oh wow, I really need this. She looks like a tin robot. Look at that specular highlight. That's crazy. All right, so reinstate the forms. Yeah, we might just go ahead and completely. How do I say this? We'll go in. This is okay. I want to talk a little bit about Photoshop painting and the aesthetic that I personally don't like. I think that with Photoshop, it's really easy to get in here and start noodling things to death, and then things start looking like this. And that's not a desirable state in my mind. I think that this just looks overly modeled, overly rendered. And it's something about Photoshop that lets you do that in such a way that, like, more than any other program, more than any other medium, like, it's really, I mean, you can noodle stuff to death, I guess, with like charcoal and pencil and stuff, but there's something that just looks, I think it's a matter of, you can get in so close, like I was doing here, and then I do this thing, and I lose all the context of all this roughness, and when you zoom out, what you wind up with is a bunch of discrete sections. Like, most of this looks kind of like it fits with itself, and then you've got this head suddenly that just does not look like it fits. So let's be bold. And now that I've got some colors, and I think I've got most of her features roughly where I want them so that it's kind of readable, I think I need to get some more highlights under here. But we're going to go ahead and choose this tool, and we're going to just kind of rough this up and be okay with losing the detail. We need to take that highlight down. What's going on here? Why do I have suddenly nothing? Okay, that was weird. You know what, I'm going to use this one instead. Plain, dark, plain, 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 dark, zoom, plain. Actually, I kind of like that. You'll notice I'm working pretty quick now because I think that if this is one reason why I don't like digital painting. It's like if I can, I'll just get into like a Zen trance and wind up messing with something for forever, and I'll start moving slow. And when I start moving slow, the painting suffers. Like I feel like you kind of have to remind yourself to be active and, I don't know, keep yourself aware and moving fast. Like that's already looking a lot, I guess, more palatable to my taste. It's not perfect, but it communicates the form a lot better. And I have to keep reminding myself that like I'm not trying to really do a portrait here. I'm actually trying to just capture a really, hopefully, interesting overall composition and pose, and let that be the thing that sort of drives this whole image. And just kind of include those mouths. This is what happens when mouths are such finicky things. If you put too much detail in there, like there's way too much contrast here, you can change the shape of the mouth in such a way that like it just looks wrong. It's so easy to make a mouth look wrong. And I made it look just wrong enough so that it just looked kind of dumb. Still too much perkiness. I'm going to try not to get too detailed here, but there's a minimum amount of something I have to inject in this, otherwise it'll continue to read bad. Oh, hey, Cody. Yeah, no worries about you're not making me have to repeat myself. I'm happy to still answer the question. I'm probably going to end up at some point doing some kind of like demo video or whatever, like an overview video about my general, how I like approach whatever, my process, art, things like that. And just, maybe tips for beginners kind of a thing. So all that stuff should be included. I'm not totally sold on this, but I don't want to get, like I keep saying, I don't want to get too hung up on this stuff. So let's go ahead and just say her face is done for now. Got to get some more reflective shadows in here though. Otherwise it's just too flat. Hmm. That cast shadow is pretty hard. I'm just going to go in and kind of start bringing some of these colors in here, and then get some of this gold a little bit darker so that it has some dimensionality, and then give it not what I wanted to do, and then give it a top, a case. She's got a case on her phone, so we're going to grant her that much. And I'm not going to, go in and make it super detailed or whatever. I just want to indicate some of the little doodads and some of the details that kind of indicate what's here. Maybe there's a logo for the Apple logo. There's a logo. Perfect. Look at that logo. Looks beautiful. That's even still a little too linear for me. And when I say linear, I mean I know that they're lines, but I just don't like the even. I don't like the evenness of it. I don't like that it looks like I just drew a line across this thing and it's all the same sort of size and weight and all that kind of stuff. Oops, grid mode. So I'm just going in, covering some of this stuff up. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Back to reintegrating color. Moving fast. Gotta move fast. I might go back through and put those, put her some highlights into her face in various places just to make her pop a little bit more. Okay, I'm just sort of like giving myself a once-over look-see of how I feel like this is overall kind of reading from a value perspective. Like, is everything mostly relationally correct? Like, are things disappearing and fading off in ways that I think are pleasing? Like, I really ended up liking this area down here. That kind of surprised me. Let's go ahead and keep getting some of these tones in, like, just to bring a little bit more of that color unity. Bring some of that stuff down here. And I actually still do like how loose some of this ended up being. I didn't get too bogged down in the details, but I will try to kind of carve out some of these shapes here so that we get something a little bit closer to a foot. And we'll go back to that textured brush just because we've got so much texture down here. This is kind of interesting. So like the weight of the leg, you can see it's kind of angled in, and she's kind of on the outside of her right foot here. So that's not what's happening in my drawing. So how do we fix that? Cut into it. we can do two things. We can exaggerate this a little bit more. Let's get some darker tones. Let's get some of those fun folding in the boots. And try to stay a little loose with this part. That ankle. And cut back in. So one thing I don't like about working with two windows in Photoshop, I'm doing that so that I have I can have my reference open, and then I can kind of pan around and do stuff in the main window, but I can only pan up so far. Whereas if I was, using this as my sole window, I could pan up higher so that I could be drawing higher in the screen. But anyway, I don't have that luxury today. We'll soften this up a little bit here in a minute. These are very tall platforms. Boots, tall boots. We're not going for perfection here. Just I do want to bring that over though. Nope, not the whole thing. Yeah. I'm losing some of the nice texture. It's a little skinny in the foot. Now I'm just kind of going for a shape that I like as opposed to whatever I'm looking at in this reference photo, because it's getting pretty loose. I just want to make sure it kind of reads okay. Yeah, that's better. It's getting better. I'm going to go ahead and kind of mess up my edges a little bit here, just because I don't want everything to be totally perfect. I'm going to go in and out a lot here for a little bit. Okay, save. This one should be fun. All right, how do we want to tackle this one? We'll actually draw a little bit. So make sure we get some of that curvature. Your knees here. Do this. Nope, 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 nope. Gotta kick that calf out. It's over here somewhere instead. Ends down here. Just gonna kind of scribble a little bit. I'm gonna get the ankle. Gonna taper in here. And then we're gonna get to the actual foot. And it's gonna come over here. Tilt it back toward the viewer. Get that shadow going. And get the bottom of the shoe. Okay, let's see how this looks as a rough. It's pretty bad. I think in my drawing, well, there's a couple things happening here. Ankle's too low. And let's see, it's too. She looks like she's gonna fall over. She's just gonna break her own leg because I drew her wobbly. I also kind of just don't like how dark it is down here now. Oh. You know, I liked it. I kind of liked it when it was just like really messed up and abstracted, and you couldn't pay too much attention to it. Her legs are too short. Okay, so how do we correct this? We give ourselves a couple hundred more pixels. We're gonna save, copy everything, paste everything, hide everything, and then do one of these. I think we can just do a free. And then we need to bring this whole area up and over, or we can delete it and then redraw it. Do we not? Are we not transparent there? What do I want to do? Do I want to just redraw? Yeah. Actually, it'll help me get the cast shadow in there a little bit more convincingly too. $6:30. This is almost going to be a 3-hour stream. Okay. Where do we want to stop her foot? Oof. Oof, this looks pretty bad. Wow. This is another reason why I don't like digital painting. I don't have like full use of my arm. Usually with legs, it's like a very sort of big gestural motion, and right now I can't really do that. I think we just got too much leg here. Getting closer. This foot looks ridiculous. Ankle. Actually, not even looking at the reference now. Just trying to lay down what a foot should be in this perspective. It's kind of a funny photograph because you'd almost be looking up at her face. If her head wasn't tilted down a little bit, you'd almost be able to look up her nose, but then you're looking so drastically down at her feet. It's yeah, it's a pretty drastic perspective shift. I'm going to attribute it to the mirror or whatever that's happening in that picture. Like I said, I think she's taking a picture in a mirror. There, that's looking a little bit better, huh? A little bit. Some of these shadows back in here. Just going to put a little bit of subtle highlighting in here. Still don't like that gimp foot. Well, maybe we'll just rough it up a little bit with some texture. That way we draw a little bit less attention to it. And then just sprinkle a little bit of color here and there. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is where I should stop because it's just about 3 hours. This probably an okay image. Still didn't quite turn her face. She's looking up like her head's a little too big. Oh. Yeah, there's a lot not working in this image, unfortunately. Well, oh, whatever. There's some good stuff happening in this area, I think, and me not getting too fussy with the shadows and stuff, and trying to maintain relative values, I think worked really well here. I think I could have gone a lot looser in the face area. I might do one more thing, which is shift the color balance a little bit. Maybe do what do I want? I think I want channel mixer. No, that's not what I want. What do I want? Sorry, I'm kind of losing my mind here. Yeah, that's useless. I don't want that either. Is it just color balance? No. Well, we can do something here. So I like the where the shadows are at. Let's dip into curves a little bit. Yeah, her face is a little dark. I mean, I guess we could try taking that up a little bit. Boy, there's just a lot of stuff here that I'm not too thrilled about still. Maybe we can make these last few tweaks and I'll be happy. Probably won't, but maybe. This whole shadow is too dark. Nope. It's a little bit better, but she looks like she's sticking her neck out really bad. Like, really bad. Yeah, I think this just needs, it would just need more time. I mean, there's a lot to be corrected here, I think, still, and I'm not gonna dwell on it. I'm just gonna go in really quick and pop some highlights. Yeah. Oh well. I think I'm gonna call it. I think I'll call this done, and not touch it ever again. Um, this doesn't look like, I don't think, anything I would normally ever sort of produce. I might do a formal critique of what happened here in the description, but we can go back and at least look at kind of where we started today. Actually, yeah, let's go like this. So we'll do a copy of everything, paste it. All right, so we started here. Wow, we came a long way, didn't we? 3 hours. So we pushed her head around a little bit, fixed arms, all that kind of stuff, got in the background, and took it to a much more sort of polished, believable kind of area. Actually, you know what? I mean, if we look at sort of the before and after, I'm really pleased with it. I think things got unified. I like how flat a lot of the stuff is down at the bottom. I like how I like where the colors wound up. I especially like I said, like this kind of middle torso area, hip area. So yeah, I mean, it was a successful experience, I guess, and I think that proportionally everything looks pretty okay. I'm still not too thrilled with how the head came out, but compared to that, it's way better. So yeah, I think I'm going to stop. I want to say thanks to everybody that did come into the chat room. I'm going to post links to the books and stuff like that in the description. And what else? And I think that's pretty much it. I'll repost the links to the brushes that I used, just in case anybody wants to use them. And that's, I think, where we're landing today. I'm probably going to start doing these on Sundays. I think Sundays afternoon, evening is going to be the best time for my schedule, and can hopefully help people unwind their weekends. If they're doing laundry or whatever, they can come check me out. And I guess that's it. I'll try to post on, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, sketchy, what that schedule ends up being, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be Sundays. So I'll try to keep them more experimental and rough, and just we'll see where it kind of goes with some really minimal goals in mind. And that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Cody, thank you for coming in. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday evening. Take care, guys.